Hi and welcome to this week's edition of TOOP TV, and what a week it is. TOOP+TOOP are opening our Hyde Park office, which is, as you can see, a magnificent office. And for those of you that are listening, we'd like to see you down there for that opening on Thursday from 4 o'clock. Now, for those of you watching the show today, the Craig James interview, part 2, is full of great information, so I'm sure that you'll enjoy that. Also, we go out and have a look at our North Adelaide property and the progress of the development. And for SA's finest, we go to Glen Osmond to look at a magnificent home. And don't forget, we are live and interactive. So get the calls going, get the emails running, and we'll answer them at the end of the show. Yes, so we hope to see a lot of you down there. We've got the outside broadcast at our new office at Hyde Park, fondly known to the locals as the Abbey, but hopefully in the future TOOP+TOOP Hyde Park. Great building, fantastic, and you'll love it. If you get a chance, pop down tomorrow from 4 o'clock. Got 5AA down there doing an outside broadcast. We've got a sales meeting that we're opening up for everybody to have a look at, which is completely unheard of, getting into the inner sanctum of TOOP+TOOP. So if you're thinking of selling a property and you want to see the sort of stuff we do, first time ever that this has been possible, down at the Abbey, 84 King William Road down at Hyde Park. And we've got a lot more news on that in a moment. Now, later in the show, we've got the rental market update. Before we get to that, I also just wanted to talk about very briefly the grand final, which everybody is talking about. Today's paper, of course, has this whole article about the replay causes disarray. And what they're referring to is, particularly in Melbourne, but the number of calls we've taken from owners of properties that have got their auctions this weekend, got their opens this weekend or launching this weekend, looking for advice of whether they postpone. And at the end of the day, what we're saying to everybody is it's too late in spring. You really need to go live. So, you know, from our money, after having given it quite a bit of consideration, you know, what we're saying to everybody is let's just go for it and get on with it. The biggest issue that we'll have will really be the interest rates next week, to see if on Tuesday that they go up, and also the amount of stock that's coming onto the market this spring. If it all gets delayed, that's going to impact the market far more than the grand final. So just go with it and it'll be fine. Now let's go and see what's happening with the coastal market and the inside story.
For city dwellers, the grass isn't greener on the other side. As their property prices go up, coastal property values have stalled. According to the latest RP data report, nationally, coastal markets haven't performed as well in the past 12 months compared to the strong growth of the past decade. Closer to home, Port Lincoln has experienced a slightly weaker housing market, while the median unit prices have had the biggest growth in the nation. This is a dramatic contrast to Victor Harbour units, which have suffered the largest fall. Prior to 2008, Victor Harbour, along with other coastal areas, were booming with an influx of tourists, sea changers and retirees. But since the global financial crisis, many people who were looking to move to these regions have become more cautious.
I would say probably that a lot of people forget about their holiday homes and concentrate on sort of the city living when times are getting a little bit tougher. So they get rid of perhaps the holiday homes, boats and so on.
I think a lot of people like the beach, but I think it's, it's nice in the beginning, but there's a heavy maintenance. And I think the older you get, the less inclined you are to do maintenance.
I mean, certainly holiday properties and non-essential properties probably because of people's financial condition, I guess.
While it's believed coastal market values should improve from now on, recovery will be slow as the tourism sector still suffers from the strength of the Aussie dollar and with interest rates set to rise.
Well, down in the Fleurieu, the October long weekend, which basically this weekend is the start of the season, because through the Fleurieu gets very busy during summer. So all action and pretty exciting to see the sun come out. We'd love the rain, but nice to see some sunshine as well. Now, today's program really is to talk about and dig a little bit deeper into what's happening with our new office, the TOOP+TOOP Hyde Park office, which, as we mentioned a minute ago, is formerly known, or known to most of you, as the Abbey. Now, this property has a lot of history. The history went from a Methodist church, then it went to a disco or a convention centre, or sort of an entertainment precinct, and then it went to a chemist. We've recently bought the building, refurbished it, and in that process some really interesting things came out of that. And to find out a little bit more about that is my mother, Barbara. So welcome, Mum, to the show.
Oh, thank you, Anthony.
How cool is it to have my mum on the show?
Oh, well, I'm here.
I hope you enjoy it. Now, Mum, we bought the property. We were just chatting about the fact we'd bought the Abbey and about to refurbish it, and then you piped up and said, "Oh, I grew up there." How about that?
Yes, well, I was surprised you didn't know, but yes, I did, and we had some very happy years there at the Methodist Church.
So tell me about the background, because you brought out the photo album and you showed me all of the old pictures, and there's a picture of you there with Granddad and great-grandfather, and also just some gorgeous shots of the church itself. Tell me, what years were you there, and what was it like in those days?
Well, we were there from 1946 to early 1950, and my father was the minister there. He was Reverend John H. Peters, and we moved around the country, being a minister's daughter. I, of course, went too, and we had a very, very happy time at the Unley Church.
So out of us buying the Abbey, what's interesting is that suddenly I found out how many places that you lived in, because you were a Methodist minister's daughter. So you were born in Alberton.
That's right.
In the Manse.
In the Manse, yes. It was a home delivery. And I was born at Alberton, and then when I was 1, we went to Lameroo. When I was 4, we went to Orroroo, then to Clare, then to Semaphore. This is why you don't know all this, because it's so drawn out. And then finally we were at Unley.
And so Unley were the years you were roughly 16 years old.
Yes, yes.
So you would have enjoyed the tennis and the courts, which are now buildings.
Yes, yes. No, the tennis courts, we played tennis, and then we played basketball in the winter. We had a wonderful time at Unley. We had a lot of people there, and a lot of young people, and the kindergarten that I taught in, we had over 100 little children.
That you looked after?
I only looked after 20 of them.
All right.
I had a class of 20, and they were lovely, and I meet up with quite a few of them still.
Now, the Manse was just behind in Erskine Street.
That's right, yes, 13 Erskine Street.
Okay.
And we just used to go through the tennis courts to the church or to the Sunday school or whatever.
Now, Mum, we were brought up under your regime. Absolutely no alcohol. I know that I know that something went terribly wrong. But how do you feel about the fact that we ended up like a nightclub or an entertainment precinct, then a chemist, and now a real estate agency? Is that good?
Well, for me, I'm very happy to see the building there and being looked after. And as soon as I heard that you had bought it, I felt that you and Sylvia would look after it and take care of it, and that pleased me.
Well, as you know, Sylvia is the one that's doing all of the work on it.
I know.
Yeah, which is pretty amazing. So you've had a quick look at it, and you're coming back tomorrow night?
Yes.
And you've got some friends coming back tomorrow night?
Yes, I've spoken to quite a few, and they're all anxious to come, especially the ones that were there at the church when we were there.
So if anyone is aware of it, they should really get them to come through and have a look. And hopefully you're very proud of it.
I am very proud of it. Yes, it's really is looking very nice.
We'll come back to you a bit later. We've got a question that came through about this, so we'll cover that a bit later. But in the meantime, it's time to get back to property directly, that is, and find out what is happening with the market. And we've got a great segment with ComSec's Chief Economist, Craig James.